This episode of Profiles in Risk is brought to you by InsurTech Connect Las Vegas. The legendary ITC is coming back to Vegas October 14 to 16 at the Mandalay Bay Casino. ITC is the largest InsurTech conference in the world by a long shot and the absolute cannot miss event of the year. We never miss it, neither should you. Register today using our discount code INSNerd200. Again, that's INSNerd200 and see you in Vegas, baby. And when you're there, look for me. I'm the guy with the red top hat and ask me for a magic trick. Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host, Tony Caña, switching to my radio voice and wearing my Rice Insurance, the best industry to work in shirt, which this year is white because I pick up a new one every year at the Rice Leadership Summit. Now, I did complain that the white one's going to get nasty really quickly, but that was just a couple of weeks ago, so it's brand new. And today I have with me Brian Baughman. I did not ask you how to pronounce your name.
You nailed it.
Perfect. Brian Baughman, VP of Sales at the Hartwell Corporation, unofficial LinkedIn ESOP Evangelist, and fellow CPCU, fellow ARM. So a real insurance person, basically. So Brian, number one, thank you for joining me today. How's it going?
Tony, I'm thrilled to be here as a fellow CPCU, but I am incredibly jealous of the glasses, the hat. I mean, look at this boring baldness. I need to improve, Tony. What am I doing?
So yes, this is good genetics right here. Right, 42 years old, starting to go gray, but definitely the hair is nice and thick and very warm this time of the summer here in Atlanta, Georgia. So yes, when it comes to the branding, I am absolutely killing it, or at least I try. So Brian and I connected just recently, like a month ago. I think how it happened is I noticed let's see. Okay, so it looks like you added me because you like my creative marketing on LinkedIn. And then I immediately noticed the ESOP Evangelist thing, and I am a big fan of ESOPs. And then we kind of exchanged messages, and I invited you on the podcast. So first of all, the Hartwell Corporation, that is an agency. Am I correct in that? An insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you started there as a commercial insurance advisor. It was not your first job. You actually went through Brown & Brown and then through another insurance agency. So you've been in insurance on the sales side since 2007. So we're about the same age.
Yep. I'm 42 in October, so we're going to be
42 in December. Yes. So,
okay.
So we're about the same age. Again, great genetics. I will be playing with my hair for the entirety of the conversation, just to see how much I can get to. So now, what you should get a hairless cat, and the Dr. Evil thing while you're in meetings. Okay. So let me concentrate here. Okay. So whenever we're talking about agencies, I always have to give my disclaimer. I am not licensed, have never been licensed to sell P&C, and I have never worked a day of my life at an agency. I have partnered with agencies in many different ways. I have been an underwriter, I have been a sales manager or marketing rep, and I have been a recruiter for agencies. And my girlfriend worked for several years at a top 5 alphabet soup shop whose name we don't say out loud anymore. And she started as an account executive, quit, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, interviewed all the brokers here in Atlanta, and went back to the same one, except now at a corporate role, basically leading their small commercial consolidation. So basically, I am very familiar with insurance agents and agencies, but I have never worked a day of my life in an agency, right?
Gotcha.
Okay, cool. So ESOPs. Okay, so for listeners that are not familiar, ESOPs stand for Employee Stock Ownership Plans, and you know 25 times more about this than I do. In my mind, ESOPs are kind of a co-op business. And I'm a big fan of the idea of employee-owned organizations. I need to be careful. Okay. I
Let it fly, Tony.
I
Let
have
it fly.
historically spoken about my political alignments on the show. But in the current political environment where I am running around with my US passport in my pocket at all times,
Okay.
I'm kind of cleaning up my social media a little bit, especially because because of the memo that came out last week from the Justice Department about denaturalizations.
Wow.
That creates a world where, assuming you were born here in the States, I have risks that you don't have, basically. So I need to be a little more careful. Okay. But I am a big fan of employee-owned businesses. I just believe that they are better to work for. They are better for the communities that they serve, and they're better for the clients they serve. At least when compared to like gigantic, faceless, publicly traded companies, right? Okay.
Right.
So
Right.
I already wanted to wait times. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Okay. What is an ESOP from the more
Right. Right.
of somebody who actually
Well,
deals with ESOPs?
Tony, just to circle back around really quickly, three things. You've got the hair, you've got the CPCU. You are an ESOP evangelist ready to go. We need you. We need you, Tony. You're here, you're a believer. So an ESOP is an ownership structure that allows employees to own the business through an ESOP trust. Nobody cares about that definition.
Mhm.
Here's what they care about. Daily average people that do not want to fight for ownership at an agency are automatically owners after 1 year. Let me say that again. After 1 year of, after roughly a year, I don't care if you're the receptionist, president, doesn't matter. You will start earning ownership shares by government regulation. So here's
Mhm.
how that works. At your big alphabet soup shops that you mentioned, they are publicly held. Okay. And so they are literally taking 40% profit margins, right? And that
Mhm.
goes back to who? Shareholders on Wall Street. Okay.
Who and if I can pause you there for a second, uh, shareholders who in 2025, or at least from 1980 to today, care about nothing other than profits, right? And by law, basically, right? So management is forced to manage for maximizing profits, or they risk getting sued by activist shareholders,
Right.
right? Now,
100%.
I would argue that Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway is a perfect example of how managing for long-term profits is much smarter. The problem is, good luck defending in court decisions that might be long-term smart, but that are short-term expensive for the company, right? So, but that's just a parenthesis. Okay, continue.
Right. Well, and you make a good point. So Warren Buffett has the name cachet to tell his activist investors, you need to hold your horses. I'm Warren Buffett. But the people investing both in public companies and even the private equity have a time frame in which they would like to see share a return on their
Did
investment.
you see the giant eye roll to when you said private equity?
You almost fell out of the
I
screen. The eye
know,
roll
I
was so
know.
big.
For anybody listening, not watching on video, you really should, because we're both very expressive. There's like fire and stuff flying around. Tony playing with a magic wand. That's not what it sounds like. So if the ownership options are publicly traded, which generally means large, and 99% of the time means managed to hit numbers this quarter with no care for anybody else, employees, customers, the communities we serve, et cetera, or private equity, which basically stands for rather unregulated. We are going to load you up with debt in your name, not in ours. We are going to sell the thing for parts, and we don't care if and they're all over insurance today, and we don't care if as long as we make our money, which includes both management fees and selling it at the end. As long as we make our money, we don't give a crap if the thing is a good employer, a good provider of services, a good community member, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
any other ownership options?
Well, so there's one more that I would put in there, and that's privately owned by, and I would say just your main street owner.
So
Which,
your traditional agency today, and
thank
for
you.
the last 40 years, is
Right, right,
owned by an agency principal or two, three, four, maybe five agency principals,
right,
right?
right.
Who are probably 65 years old. And,
Yes,
and
if
who,
not 85.
and exactly. Oh my God. And who, statistically speaking, their kids don't want to take over, right?
Right.
And
So if
yeah.
I could throw out, Tony, one real example, it'll be this. When it comes to the big names that you would see in the Insurance Journal Top 100, there are producers in our area who I get to know very well. Part of my role, our agency has 100 people. I help oversee a sales team, do recruiting and onboarding agencies. But here's what I've seen. Every single time I talk to an alphabet soup agent, they say, I would love to leave. I'm not sure if I can. They
Uh-huh.
never say, happy with where I am. They say,
Uh-huh.
gosh, I'd love to leave. So here's an example on the private equity side. Okay, this is private equity. This literally happened in the same day, Tony. I see an ad on LinkedIn saying something like, we insure one out of every 25 companies in the United States, or we insure one out of every 20. It was some general number saying our agency insures a lot. We're a huge agency. And they said we do that by loyalty and care and trust. However, the same day, I spoke to a person who worked for that agency who said, Brian, I'm just hunkering down. I don't like the agency. I don't like where I work. I would leave. They don't care about me at all, but I'm stuck. So those two things are happening on the same day.
Mhm,
So
of
there's
course.
a certain level of gaslighting that happens when you say, we care about everyone, and all your employees say that's not true.
Well, if you're either publicly traded, like a lot of the big shops, or private equity, but especially if you're publicly traded, you don't have the option. Quite simply, you are legally mandated to manage the company for the sole benefit. It is insanity, but that's where we are for the last 40 years or so. The sole benefit of the shareholders, right? And that is why a big part of the reason that uh, CEOs will lay off thousands of people, which will be really bad for the community, really bad for the employees, really bad for the business in the long term, to hit the Wall Street analyst numbers for this quarter, right? Because that's what they get measured against, and they take legal risks whenever they manage for anything other than profits this quarter.
Right. Or they'll be fired, right? So,
Exactly. So of course, by definition, you're a number. Whether you are the janitor who's likely outsourced so that you don't have benefits, or whether you are a very highly paid producer, either way, you're a number.
right. That's true. No, you hit the nail on the head. So what makes an ESOP special is this. We can have this type of a vision. Now, you talked about liking co-ops, liking helping the community. Here's the vision that I personally have would say for our agency. My goal is to bring life-changing wealth to our employee owners. That's not just your $1 million revenue producers. That's literally your receptionists. That's your single moms. That's your people who are going through a tough time or who have overcome a lot. Even if they're in an entry level position or a big position, whatever, I want to see them have a ton of money. So, my message, Tony, really is to the producers out there and to the staff. The reason why we retain excellent staff is they are shareholders of our agency. We literally give profits to no one else. It's a powerful thing. We're the story that doesn't get told. Tony, I need your magical help here. We need to get this message out.
Absolutely. Believe me, this is something that it boggles the mind how the word that comes to the correct terminology is unpopular, but that doesn't the true meaning of unpopular. It is just not popular in the States. It's much more popular
Right.
in any sort of cooperative ownership, uh, but it's not unpopular in the way that it's disliked. It's unknown.
Right.
It's like it is
It's
amazing to me how unknown the cooperative type of business organization is here in the States. And even your average MBA only thinks. So even if they have professional education in business, they only think publicly traded and nowadays private equity and VC funded if it's a startup, right?
Right.
They don't think ESOP. I swear that the word ESOP never came up in my MBA.
Right. Right.
Right.
So
Um,
actually, I am going to use that. I'm going to steal this from you that in your MBA training, it's the best kept secret in the industry.
yes, that makes sense.
As you as you talk to agency owners, here's something that I think needs to be shouted from the rooftops. The government doesn't want people manipulating this. So they actually have a really neat provision. They closely monitor how the shares are distributed, and they only are taken at retirement. But here's the other thing that agency owners need to know: you don't pay federal taxes. So you have this huge tax advantage. So to all the agency owners who are looking at selling the next 5 or 10 years or even 1 year, we say an ESOP is something we'd love to talk to them about the benefits, because they shouldn't just turn around and sell to a big conglomerate who their employees are going to hate and their clients are going to hate. So we firmly believe that your clients and your employees will be better taken care of with an ESOP.
It makes sense. It absolutely makes sense. So now, if I'm an agency principal,
Okay.
and the average agency principal that I've run into has been at that agency for a long time, it's their baby. Like you said, I said 65, you said 85, and neither of us are incorrect. You're probably closer to correct because agents don't retire. Why would they? Um, and their kids are not ready to take over or have pursued other opportunities. That's a whole different conversation. When it comes to maximizing, so this person, generally a guy, deeply cares about the community, deeply cares about the business, and it's their freaking name on the door, right? So they deeply care about the organization. Having said that, chances are, at least the perception is, and you tell me if this perception is correct or not, the perception is that the largest check that they can get is going to come from either selling to a big shop or selling to private equity. Is that perception correct? Like when it comes to sheer money, is that likely the best outcome for them when it comes to just amount of dollars they take?
Right. So that's a good question. As we both know, it depends on the type of business being sold.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say this: when our office has bought, so we've acquired in the last, 5 or 6 years, 8 agencies. So we've done acquisitions. I would say none of those people, all those people got very high dollar amounts,
Okay.
right? These were acquisitions where their bank accounts were not struggling.
Well,
So
yeah, yeah.
but that being said, they'd say, well, could I maximize that if I sold to this agency? If I sold to a huge PE company? Potentially, but one way that those that check is deceptive, because oftentimes it's connected to an earnout,
Mm-hmm.
and that earnout is here's an example. We talked to a guy, and he said, at the last minute, I was told any business that I had BOR'd over in the last 12 months was counted at a discount rate. So that's the kind of crap that I say, listen, if we tell someone something one time, we back it up, because there's so many people who get screwed and it's not fair to them. And so I do think the perception's out there that you'll make more, but I think having the full picture, you may take a small percentage, just a tiny percentage haircut, to know that culturally their fit's a little different.
And I think most principals, especially if you built this, if you bought it a few years back, you might not care. But if you built this, if this, you know, agency started with like one desk in your garage, I'm exaggerating, doesn't happen much in your, if this
Right.
agent Agents started agency started in a tiny location with you by yourself, or maybe you and your wife, or you and one service person, and you've grown it to a significant book now with five producers, whatever. Uh, or maybe it's a second generation agency. Like if you truly care about the agency and the community that the communities that it serves, uh, those are the types of people that, if they understood the ESOP, would likely go for an
Yeah.
ESOP, right?
Yes. Yes.
So help them understand that exactly. This is
Right.
we're
Okay.
putting you on a stage.
So here's what I'd say. Here's what I would say. In the agency world right now, if you want a big producer, they have to have a good team behind them.
Absolutely.
Now, that sounds like it's a cliche, but here's what I know. All of the other agents I talk to say, how can we keep good people? Because they'll get a phone call saying, do you want to make 30 grand more to work for this big agency out of San Francisco? They say, of course. When you're employee owned, the security blanket of seeing a six figure or 500,000 or maybe $1 million in retirement, that holds people to an age, it retains
Absolutely.
talent.
Oh my God.
So the recruitment for account managers is strong. The recruitment for producers is also strong. So if I'm talking to an agency owner, we say, if you knew that you could out recruit all your competition when it came to staff, is that appealing? Yes. How about you're able to get good producers? Yes.
Take it from
Right?
the
Look at
recruiter.
you're a recruiter. You
Yes.
you know this. You do this all day,
Uh,
Tony.
my name is Tony Caños, and I approve this message. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. From my perspective as a recruiter, it is much easier to get to the right person. If I can sell the crap out of an ESOP,
Yes, yes.
not only
Uh,
will they stay because they will financially benefit, they will stay because they'll be happier in
yeah.
the they work.
Yeah. The culture an ESOP gives an employee is really strong. There is a very well-known PE company that's in Idaho, and a few of their employees are my friends, and they said, I learn more when recruiters call me and tell me about our agency than I do from our actual agency. Think about that for a second. So I used this example the other day. I was chatting with David Carruthers, who does Power Producers, and I said, David, you
From the
watch this.
podcast I did on him on his.
Oh, yes, you guys were together. That's right. I mean, he's done amazing things. You know, he's a sports guy. I'm a sports guy. I said, when the Eagles played the Chiefs in the Super Bowl this last year, every single guy on the defensive line for the Eagles on one play had gone to Georgia. So they have to recruit talent. I just said, David, you will recruit like Georgia if you're employee owned because you will get the best people. Um, so recruitment and then tax advantages. If you have those two things alone will give you a huge advantage against your competition.
So let's talk about the tax advantages because I'm
Okay.
not those.
Okay. So everybody has to pay federal taxes, right? ESOPs don't pay those federal taxes.
I did not know that.
It's a huge deal. I mean, it's a huge deal. Now, to be fair, the employees will pay those federal taxes when they retire. However, here's what we tell our team. If you were to get your ESOP paid out, you pay it out over 5 years, okay? So let's pretend you have 500 grand you're getting paid out in ESOP shares. If you get paid out 500 grand and you have to pay taxes on it, you're still making a lot of money. So let's not cry if we win the lottery that we have to pay taxes on it.
Love that saying.
It's still a good amount of money. But the government, it doesn't matter if you are Trump or Biden or Pelosi or Mitch McConnell, they all want ESOPs to succeed. It's truly one of the most apolitical types of things you can do. I know I wasn't supposed to bring up politics, Tony. I did it.
You can. I did my best to stay stone faced. Uh,
I like you, Tony. I like you a lot. I think even if a person's not in the insurance industry, let's pretend you're just a high school kid living in New Mexico. I don't know, whatever. Find an ESOP in your hometown and go work for it. But if you are a producer or an account manager, when those folks, especially account managers, hit like 50, they realize I probably won't make more salary, but I could save up for my retirement. We have This is, it honestly kind of embarrasses me to say this. We have picked up the best people from several local agencies in our area. They've come and joined us. Now, all we did was put ads on LinkedIn. We didn't have a hot shot Tony out there recruiting for us, right? We just had LinkedIn,
A lot
but we're
cheaper.
still. So, what do you see, Tony, when you're doing your recruitment stuff? What kind of ownership is offered out there?
There are not enough ESOP agencies.
Okay.
I wish there were more. And by the way, my number one referral source when it comes to agency work is Kelly Donahue Piro, a good friend who runs Agency Performance Partners. I would love to have you become my new biggest referral source because your agencies will be ESOPs. Okay. Uh, Number one thing is your culture. And every agency swears that they have a fantastic culture, and then when you dig into it, uh, you don't. Okay, like a pizza party on Fridays, 1 day a week from home on Mondays, and we sponsor the high school football team. That does not a good company culture make in 2025. That is table stakes below table stakes. Okay. Number one predictor of how easily we'll be able to recruit for you is, are you remote friendly? In order to be remote friendly, you need good processes, good technology. Kelly can help with that. Number two predictor is your local reputation, your local and regional reputation. And that reputation will be massively helped if you're an ESOP because of everything we've already talked about, right? And quite simply, you're going to treat your people better if you're an ESOP, right? Because the incentives are set up in the right way. So yes, it would be so much easier. So let's say that the okay, let me back up a little bit. Account managers are in high demand. Experienced account managers are in very high demand. And I presented to the Keystone, I can't remember what Westfield Insurance. They're top 30 agencies in the whole country. They have a name for them. So they're all independents, and they have the 30 biggest books with Westfield. I have a strong relationship with Westfield. So Westfield brought me in person to Westfield Center, Ohio, to present about the future of the insurance labor force to their Pinnacle agents. I think it was Pinnacle. So the right. So and we had a dinner the night before. I went to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame before the dinner, and I got my picture in front of Slash with the black top, had not the red one. Then I did the dinner, and during the dinner, a couple of things really struck me. One of them was that every agency principal was an older white male, every one of them, and this is not Westfield's fault, right? This is just a reality of Midwestern agencies. And the only woman and the only person of color were both Westfield sales managers. All right, it's just the history of our industry. It's fine. So I talked to them about like remote friendliness, and in general, they were not particularly remote friendly. So I went back to my room and I completely rejigged the presentation. And the next morning, when I presented to them, I started with I chose a random one of the agencies, random agency out of Akron, Ohio, and I said, okay, for example, such and such agency out of Akron, Ohio, you are used to competing for talent against this, and I had a map of Akron, Ohio, and like 30, 40 miles around, right?
Mm.
In the new world, you're now competing in talent against this, and the next slide had the whole country, right?
Right.
Because your people, the girls, right? Because the service people are generally girls, they're generally women. In fact, historically, they have been high school educated women who you train in insurance and they stay forever. And they get paid a lot less than a successful producer. And they are the lifeblood of the agency, right? They're the
Right.
lifeblood of the book. And I have seen them called the girls everywhere. I have worked with agents everywhere. And this is the case everywhere. Okay. The next generation of women, I think of my girlfriend and her generation of women, are not going to put up with the account manager job that doesn't have a real upward career path. So we have to reinvent that job completely. We have to refigure out how to pay that job in a way that's more equitable to the work that they do and the value they bring to the agency. And the path can't be become a producer, because not all of them want to become producers. Many of them don't, right? The very
And should not. And
the, the
should
very,
not.
the very skill set that makes them great account managers is not the skill set that will make them great producers, right? Some might be able to make the transition. Many don't want to. My girlfriend was a perfect example of the person that was a fantastic account executive. She had no interest in being a producer. Okay. All right. So you are now competing with talent against every remote-friendly agency in the country. And there's 40,000 agencies in the country. The majority of them are not remote-friendly, but there's enough of them that are remote-friendly. And the ones that are remote-friendly tend to be clustered in big cities. The reason they became remote-friendly is not because they believe in remote, which they've gotten to believe in remote now, but the reason they're remote-friendly is because because they cannot afford local talent, right? So if you are based in Chicago, if you are based in San Francisco, if you're based in California in general, if you're based in New York City, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, even some parts of Florida, Naples, Florida, if you're based in a very expensive cost of living area, you simply cannot afford. So your account managers retire, and you can't afford to replace them. And by the way, the whole demographic thing, the demographic of high school educated women is disappearing because women are out educating themselves compared to men, right? From when I graduated college in 2006 to today, about 60% of college degrees have gone to women. And guess what those women don't want to do? Be account managers with no path up. That presentation that I gave to Westfield. So as I was rejigging my presentation, I found some research that found that the class of college freshmen coming into college that year, I think it was 2022, aggregate for the whole country, there are 2 women for each guy.
Wow.
Which means that my brother, who's currently in college, is having a blast because the ratio of women to men is 2-to-1. It was 1-to-1 when I was at Iowa State 20 years ago, 23 years ago, and that, which is very unfair. And the other thing that means is that if your staffing plan is based on high school educated women running your service department, that's not going to work anymore because that demographic is disappearing. Okay, so having talked about all of that, producers. Okay, so if it's an ESOP, I'm going to have a much easier time selling you as an employer. You're going to have a much easier time not having to hire me to sell you as an employer, and you're going to have a much easier time keeping them. Okay,
right.
Producers. Okay, the number one thing we get asked to find that we are not very good at is producers. We're very good at account managers. Producers are so hard. Why? Because a successful producer generally doesn't want to change companies, right? So if you put an ad out for a producer, you're going to get a bunch of resumes for crappy producers. The good ones need to be actively recruited out. And what exactly are you offering them, right? Oh, we have access to a bunch of markets. They already do. Oh, we sponsor the local high school football team. They already do. Oh, we are partially remote friendly. They already, right? They're producers. Like even a non-remote friendly agency doesn't want them sitting in the office. They want them out talking to clients. So, right, what exactly? Like you can offer them a better cut, but now, like your margin is going down. You can offer them. I mean, what else can you offer them, right? So yeah, ownership basically. And if you're gonna offer them ownership. And so you offer producers ownership, but you're not offering ownership to the rest of your employees. All you're doing, I mean, yeah, that's gonna significantly help your producer retention, and it's gonna help my ability to find you the right producer, or your ability to find yourself the right producer. You are still gonna struggle retaining your service people, right? And you are going to to and the producers are going to be pissed off about the service people constantly churning. I met an agency. I was their middle market underwriter at Liberty. They're in Mississippi, very large agency for the area, right? So like I think they're like a 1 or 2 location commercial lines agency, and they own a significantly sized building in whatever godforsaken capital of Mississippi, Jackson. I don't remember. I have like gone to therapy.
Jackson's probably great. It's probably great.
There is nothing in Mississippi other than Ole Miss. It is the land of despair, Mississippi and West Virginia. All right, this agency, when I met them, they told me a really cool story that hey, the way that we work, we are employee owned, and they didn't use the word ESOP, but I'm assuming it was an ESOP now that I talked to you. They said we're employee owned, and basically, when a producer validates, there's a vote, and each employee has 1 vote, and regardless of them validating, they are not allowed to become a partner unless like they can be voted off the island at validation, right? And well, like I think it's a fantastic no asshole rule because there are more service people than there are producers. So the service people hold the keys, right? So if you want to validate, not only do you have to validate, but you also have to survive the vote, which is a secret ballot.
Right.
Like your producer buddies who you golf with are not enough to get you the win. You need the account managers on your side because there's more, so they have more votes. Right. I'm assuming they're structured as an ESOP. I didn't ask. I didn't know what to ask at the time, but it's such a good idea.
So maybe a quick thought here is, I love that model. With an ESOP, what they do is they take all the control away from anyone in the business because they don't want owners excluding people. So by law, anyone who's ESOP can't deny anyone ownership. But what a lot of agencies do, like your friends in Mississippi, America's greatest state, Mississippi, a lot of hey, I'm from Idaho. I'm not casting any stones here. So Tony, I think what a smart agency owner will do is this: they will take 10% of their profits every year and give it back to the employees in ownership. And they will create like, let's say you have a partnership that goes out to people and they get a certain amount based on what they have. It's actually a brilliant idea. The owners that struggle, and we talk to them all the time, is they say, I won't make anyone else an owner. Well, eventually people who are worthy of ownership shares will say, it's not 1972. I'm $1 million producer and I'm either going to go work at XYZ shop or I'm going to get ownership, but there's nothing in between.
Absolutely.
Do you see, so Tony, do you see folks who will ask you, will say, hey, as part of our recruitment, we want to give ownership, but we want them to hit all these sales goals and then do this and that. Is that kind of what you're seeing?
A little bit. So what I have been getting is agencies who we have successfully helped hire account managers, which we're very good at. I've had them come back and ask for producers, and then we struggle, right?
Okay.
And then they come back and say, okay, hey, how come you're so good at hiring account managers for us, but you're struggling finding producers for us? What's the difference?
Right.
And we either guide them to it or they get to it on their own, and they go like, is it a matter of ownership? And then we say, yes, it's probably a matter of ownership, right? Okay. And then they're like, what are the best practices? And we're like, don't really know, right? And I will be sharing this episode with them. But so yes. And the other thing that I get calls on Chat with Tony from producers who say, I'm making a ton of money, but I don't have book ownership. Right? Where do I go to get book ownership? Right? That call happens a lot. And I don't have good advice for them. Right? So I will be putting into this episode also. What does the process look like? Okay, so let right. So my friend Stephen Griswold inherited an agency from his grandpa, and I'm going to use him as an
Okay.
example. He's a very modern guy, and because he sold the agency. So what the first thing he did is he got rid of the building. Second thing he did, he created a side agency that dedicated to vegan businesses, and then he kept running remotely both the Griswold and Sons and whatever the vegan agency was called, and then eventually he sold them both. But in a case like that, so he inherited the agency from his dad or his grandpa, and now he's ready to move on, or grandpa's retiring, right? And we want to consider an ESOP. What does it look like?
Yeah, yeah. So maybe there's two paths here. So number one would be most people would say, "Hey, I don't want to sell to a big agency because my buddy who sold hates his life and they only have call center employees from a foreign country and it's not the experience they want to have." So you can do two things. One, when it comes to ESOPs, you could sell your agency to an ESOP like Hartwell, right? That's an option. Or you could create your own ESOP. The problem with creating your own ESOP is you need it's a good problem, but you need to have employees that can buy it back over time from the trust. So, so if you don't have employees that you really trust to keep the agency going for their 5 or 10 years, it probably won't be a good fit. They
Interesting. Very,
they
very.
really need to be there running the ship. So think of like, if you and I own an agency together, let's sell to an ESOP. Let's become an ESOP. If we stepped away, could the employees keep it going? If you go said some owners, I've talked to dozens of owners, probably like you, Tony, they'll say, not a chance. My team can't hang on for a week. Now that's probably overstated, but what they're saying is my team has certain roles they'd like to do. So what we typically encourage people to do is learn about ESOPs and see if you should become an ESOP. But if you can't, consider other options for your next step forward, including selling your agency and having your employees plug into an existing ESOP.
Okay. Perfect. 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 Okay. Um, so your operation at Hardwell, you guys are an insurance agents. Are you able to help other agencies that want to become ESOPs, or do you have a resource you point them to? Uh,
So a couple things. Here's what happens. First, we have an introductory phone call. I just chat with someone and say, Bob, tell me your story. Well, my grandpa started the agency 80 years ago, or whatever it is. And then from there, we say, what are your goals? What are you looking to do?
Mhm.
Sometimes they always say what you said, Tony. I'm really intrigued with the ESOP. Help me understand more. Say, do you want to do a bunch of work? No, I don't want to do a bunch of work. Now, if they're 50 and they're thinking about it, that's different from being 73 because most 73-year-olds are looking at a 3 year or a 2 year window, not a 20-year window. Um, our office has found success telling people we're strengthening our community and our employees, and they are becoming owners, and we're changing people's lives. Is that something you'd like to talk more about? And they say, well, yeah, that sounds good. And typically, they will have heard some horror stories of other types of agencies buying and then shredding for profit's sake. And they want to find something that's more altruistic while still making the same amount of money. I want to be clear. They still make a boatload of money on this, but they're able to help their employees.
Yeah, fantastic. And you guys yourselves, you buy agencies all over the mountain states, all over the West Coast, all over. Uh, what's your appetite?
Yep. So, we started in Idaho. We have a producer in Washington, and then we have employees that live, I think, I always forget, I think it's 16 other states.
Okay.
So we have tons of remote employees. I can't keep track of the remote people. I don't get to meet them all the time. Um, but our care, this is something really important. We have the carrier depth
Hmm.
because of the size to be in other states competitively. So if somebody in Ohio were to be interested, we wouldn't have to say to them, well, gosh, we don't have Cincinnati or Selective, right?
Uh,
We have those options. So Our goal is a nationwide footprint in the future. That takes a long time. Some places like the boroughs of New York City are tough, right? But there are some states, at least in the Northwest or Midwest or whatever, that are just hand in glove fits.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. How long is that transition?
So here's what um, I got a call. I called that. Here's two examples. It should be somewhere between 30 days and 30 years. Um, I I had there are guys I know that say I want to be an ESOP, but I'm only 41. So maybe it'll happen in the next 30 years. I left, but here's one other account. I called a guy. This is the first time we did an acquisition technically. I called the guy and said, "Hey, you're a really popular agent. You work with this type of business. I'd love to work with you if you ever want to sell your accounts because your accounts love you." And I knew he was an older gentleman. Left him a message. This is a true story. A year later, he called back and said, "Brian, you left me a message. My wife told me sell the agency in 30 days or we're getting divorced." I kid you not. I
Oh,
almost fell out of my chair. So it typically takes 3 to 6 months if you're pushing it. It can take longer, but most of the time people want to make a transition. They're moving very quickly. Something has happened and motivated them. It's kind of like Tony when you get that recruitment call.
oh yeah.
The people calling you, they need to fill a position.
Mm.
They're calling because they're desperate, right? They would fill it
If they
on
had time,
LinkedIn
they
if
would
they
do it
could.
themselves.
They what?
If they had time, they would do it themselves.
There you go. There you go.
Uh,
One other thought on ownership, real fast, Tony, is this: you will have folks at very big agencies say, "We offer ownership."
mhm.
Most of the time, that ownership is offered not in a way to help the employee, but rather to trap them.
Ah, okay.
And
How?
so they would say, "Oh, well, we're going to offer you ownership, but then your non-compete stretches way out. We're going to offer you ownership, but then you have these other restrictions that are added to the contract." So I had a very sharp, very put together producer from a top five agency in the country say, "Why would I want ownership in our agency when it hurts me if I have to make a change in the future?"
Mhm.
So I remember sitting at a Starbucks and having her go over that and thinking, "You got to be kidding me. Like how, like, so if you're built on profits, are you really going to offer people good ownership? Because it has to go back to shareholders, it doesn't go to employees."
Okay. Is there such a thing as becoming an ESOP without selling? So by becoming an ESOP, I'm selling it to a trust that's going to sell it to my employees eventually. But are there people that turn the thing into an ESOP while they're still planning to stay there? They're planning to stay as a paid hand, not an owner, or not a right. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we're turning it into a co-op type of arrangement where we all own it. I'm just going to be the paid CEO.
Um, so in theory, it could happen,
Okay.
but here's what we typically see. Just like your friends in Mississippi, who are probably very savvy business people, they typically don't offer, and Mississippi people, that's just bad. That's just an example. They might not do it this way. Typically, they think about that. Then they give producers equity and they give account managers a little bit, but your account managers end up not getting as much. It just doesn't make sense for most people to give any shred of ownership to your entry level account managers. They don't
Mhm.
stay around long enough. An ESOP forces you to do that. You're forced to say, like we have meetings and we say, how much of our profits go outside of the ESOP? And someone raises their hand and say zero, 100% goes to the ESOP. Typically, even if you try to be equitable, you're just not going to be able to make it completely fair because your own motivation comes into play. How do I maximize my bottom line?
Mhm. Yeah.
Tony, you're man of the people. I can see your wheels turning. How do
Yep.
I help them?
Yep. Yep. What else have I not asked you? Well, let's go over the history. Okay, so you how did you become a giant ESOP evangelist?
So I'm going to give a lot of credit to two people. Number one is a lady named Tracy McClure, who you love. She's a pro. Tracy was helped catalyze a conversation in the late 90s with our owner, who's now passed away. Um, and she had brought up the idea of an ESOP. So here's the thing: we became 30% employee owned initially. So you don't have to be 100%. We started at 30, and then we became in 2012 100% owned. But I recognize that our biggest selling point was giving ownership to other people, especially as independent agencies disappeared and they became part of big monstrous conglomerates. It actually made our tiny little light start shining much brighter.
Awesome.
But I go back to what I said earlier. My goal is to bring life-changing wealth to our employee owners. It starts off small initially, but it builds over time. And I think it truly will make an impact, especially with Social Security being in a very precarious situation over the last 25 years in this country. Me and you, '06 graduates of college, we're not getting a penny of that. We got to fight for ourselves now, you know?
So we you did this. Uh, we can't avoid the
You
politics.
don't have to do it. You don't have to do it.
I have to. Fixing Social Security could be fixed with two lines in the law, maybe
Okay.
one line.
All right. Hit me.
Quite simply, remove the cap. It's that simple. Tax all income for Social Security, and boom, Social Security is immediately what's it called? Not bankrupt for the rest of humanity.
What's
But
the cap, Tony? Help remind me.
it changes by year. I think it's
Okay.
at like 113,000, something like that. But anyway,
Okay.
you and I only pay Social Security on the first like 110,000 we make, which means that Elon Musk, etc. 6 seconds into the year, he won't pay any more Social Security. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's like 113,000 right now, and it might or might not be. It's changed all over the years, but anyway, the point is that the really highly paid uh, only pay Social Security on the first hundred and some thousand, uh, and if they paid Social Security on all their income, the system would immediately be solved in forever. So this is
Okay.
a self-created political problem that we will never fix because quite simply we don't have a functional political environment in this country. And our there's really good research. And while I obviously vote for one of the two parties because they're less bad than the other party, uh, there's really good research that neither party actually represents what people want. The correlation between a law passing and its popularity with the people is zero. The correlation between a law passing and its popularity with the very rich is very close to 100%. So that law, the Social Security cap will never change unless we have radical political change. So yeah. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, right now it is 176,000. So it has risen over the last few years. But yeah, anybody who makes more than 176,000 doesn't pay a cent of Social Security on the rest of their income. For billions,
Hmm.
it literally like by the time they show up at the office on Monday morning, uh, they already paid all the Social Security for the year. So anyway, but you're right. You're right. 42-year-olds, we won't see Social Security, and we're paying into it. By the way, you know who else pays into Social Security and will never collect? Anybody who is working in this country undocumented. They pay hundreds of billions of dollars into Social Security that they will never collect. But I guess if we kick 15 million of them out, it'll somehow help the economy some way or another. Hopefully, this is deep enough. I might actually cut it out, but hopefully, this is deep enough that only the true nerds listen this far. All right. So what else? Okay. So basically, you grew up in an agency that uh, from the beginning had a 30% ownership structure, 30% employee owned. So
Yeah. We actually, our owner owned it for 35 years, and he went ESOP instead of selling at the time too. I think it was Levitt Group. This is 30 years, I mean 25 years ago or whatever, 30 years ago. But it was one thing about going ESOP is you don't have someone take your name off the door right away.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So there
Your
is
legacy,
value.
man. It's your legacy. Don't
Uh,
let it die. Don't
well,
fall apart.
legacy. Yeah. Um, well, Tony, you've given me a lot here, so I'm going to ask you more questions in the future
Absolutely.
about recruitment. So,
Absolutely. Go ahead. Uh,
oh no, they're percolating in my brain, but I know they're going to come.
okay. Okay. Fantastic. So for the listeners, when this goes live, I will have Brian tagged in my LinkedIn, in the show notes, Brian's LinkedIn, and the Hartwell Corporation. Uh, so if you have any questions about ESOPs, if you own an agency and you're starting to think of your exit plan, and you would like something that feels better, if you care about your people truly, and your kids aren't going to take over the agency, uh, and you want a good check for your retirement that is not written by people who are actively trying to screw you in the earnout period, and you want to sleep at night like a baby in your Winnebago, as you run around the country, or when you retire to Costa Rica or wherever. If you want to sleep like a baby, knowing that the people that took care of you and built your agency next to you are well taken care of, no better way to do it than an ESOP.
Amen. Amen. Preach. Preach. ESOP Evangelist in training. Tony, right here.
Fantastic, fantastic. So if that's all for today, a real pleasure. We did talk about, okay, so thank you very much. Let me stop recording.